Hi, and welcome back to the industry's very first virtual summit for BizOps, a methodology and framework that is helping enterprises worldwide connect their IT processes to meet or even exceed their digital business goals. I'm Kurt Sand, and I lead BizOps and automation and strategy for Broadcom's enterprise software division. So now let's have a look at a day in the life of a BizOps team. It all starts with business planning and understanding where we want to go, what we want to do next, especially in an ever-changing time where we're constantly reprioritizing. Moving on into those responsible for managing agile development, trying to take those incoming business objectives and balance them with the work in progress and future work the team can handle. Then on to agile delivery, where we burn down that work and get it out the door. Finally on to operations, where we make sure we have a flawless customer experience. Today we'll be focusing in on the IT operations part of this. So when we look at BizOps, we look at three key domains: planning, app delivery, and IT operations. Planning is all about getting alignment between strategy and execution. App delivery all about getting faster at development and test. And IT operations making sure the silos of software and infrastructure no longer get in our place. But even with those silos torn down, we still have chronic misalignment across the domains. So BizOps goes that one step further to help us get transparency, traction, and trust by a common data platform that integrates all three of these domains. In order to have a look at a real-life example of this, it's my pleasure to introduce Mike Sydor from ADP, a chief architect who's going to walk us through some examples in his daily life at ADP and how he's adopting BizOps. Thank you so much for being here, Mike. Really look forward to it.
Thank you, Kurt. Let me tell you a little bit about ADP. ADP is a provider and innovator in the vertical of HCM, Human Capital Management, which includes HR, talent, time management, benefits, and payroll for the planet. ADP has been an early adopter of computing technology. Back when folks were thinking that there was need for maybe 5 or 10 computers worldwide, I would guess that ADP had 2 of them. Cloud and global operations have been a 20-year journey as ADP sought to maintain operations around the globe for all the countries we operate in and following the sun. A consistent technology theme at ADP is constantly reaching for greater efficiency and automation of our activities, wherever and whenever possible, both to streamline operations and to provide the best user experience. Today, we are focused on Kubernetes, DevOps, and open source, while completing our transition to the SRE-anchored model for the application and service lifecycle. Within my scope of responsibilities are 2 major themes. The first is moving from reactive to predictive management, getting greater value from our monitoring tools, shifting left to get better visibility into performance pre-production, getting visibility into the development and deployment tool chains to further refine our predictive visibility and to assist more automated service restoration, refining the raw monitoring data into attributes that facilitate better management of the application lifecycle, what we call KPIs, key performance indicators. The second concern is developing KPI-savvy practitioners. Here we are leveraging corporate training resources to broaden access to learning paths and also to merge IT and business practitioners. Central to this, from a technology architecture, is having a data lake that practitioners can draw from to build the models and automation that we use to optimize our enterprise. The ingestion of metrics and events starts with monitoring tools, but the sources will be as varied as necessary. You get thousands of metrics from monitoring tools, and you need to distill them down to get to the KPI gold. None of the metrics are superfluous, as they help populate transaction traces and yield the visibility to triage performance problems. but you need to focus on those few metrics that make up the performance signature for a given application in order to effectively manage that service over the application lifecycle. These KPIs are what we move up the analytics food chain, which I show here on the right, to develop a more meaningful perspective and understand what affects the business. As we look at the chart, KPIs can be divided among these three categories. SGCM, which is stalls, GC settings, concurrency, and memory management. These make up the platform visibility. Then we have APC, which is availability, performance, and capacity. This is the application visibility. And then we have ERT, errors, resources, and transactions. This is the basic business visibility and the overall quality of the application and user experience. Once we have KPIs established, we move up the stack of refinement on the right here. Trending and baselining KPIs over the testing and operations lifecycle is a simple handle on how your application is performing across releases. If you also calculate rates of change for these KPIs, you can quickly evolve your alerting from static thresholds to dynamic and focus on capturing those unexpected events. Additional compute processes, correlation and feature extraction, these will uncover relationships in your KPI trends that allow you to more precisely adapt to your specific business activities. Everyone's business activities and architecture are a little bit different, even as we use the same types of infrastructure. So this is very much a voyage of discovery. After bringing in other streams of information and visibility through enrichment and validation streams, you are in a position to uncover your golden signal or North Star measures that define the essential parts of your business. So this is it. How will IT deliver value to the enterprise as we navigate an age of automatic system restoration, cloud infrastructure, intelligent alerting, and highly automated software delivery systems? These activities have been the bread and butter for legions of system administrators, developers, and architects, and with large shares of capital investment. Thus, it has also been the ample target for cost reduction efforts, resulting in large shifts of personnel and ever-tightening resources to establish and grow meaningful career paths. Your enterprise lives or dies on the success of your software initiatives. How will we use IT resources to bring new value to the enterprise? Inasmuch as we easily virtualize compute resources, we need to do the same among our IT roles. We need more folks taking a portion of the IT responsibility and making it their own to squeeze out the incremental changes that further enhance effective software systems and strategies. You manage what you measure, and it is through measurements and analytics that you will continue to optimize and refine your operations. How do we build consistent practitioners? Really, anyone who contributes or consumes data. How do we get them the skills, the technology, and best practices to make them reliable contributors to the realization of your software systems? The critical step is to reduce the volume of measurements to a few KPIs, key performance indicators, that are consistent across your portfolio. And then you build an army of KPI savvy practitioners who can go off and find the few gems still waiting to be uncovered. We have two major learning paths to support. The more evident path is to move from managing IT resources to managing business implementations. You cannot really have one without the other. So work first to eliminate the line that separates them. Ensure that your performance views, dashboards, and reports have both perspectives side by side. This helps accelerate the move away from focusing on individual metrics to understanding which metrics are significant for good business outcomes. And it sets the stage for understanding which of the provable KPIs results in one or more golden signals, measurements that capture the essence of your enterprise and are the key to productive user experience. The more subtle path is to harness the domain expertise of your practitioners and evolve them from data consumers to data analysts. You teach them how to fish for trends and correlations, how to find the metrics that matter, and then use these experiences to visualize data and make their case. We indoctrinate as part of the onboarding process. To use our monitoring and consume that data, a portion of your recipe team must complete training and demonstrate competency in activities that underpin these new roles and responsibilities. As product teams migrate from monolithic to container to microservice, we move a few more folks from novice to consumer, and then a few of those from consumer to practitioner, and then a few of those onto architect, application specialist, data engineer, or data analyst roles. Thus, we have a pipeline of evolving roles and a large population who understand KPIs and finding what really matters in these software and business systems. The foundation for effective analytics begins with technology. If we consider the data science hierarchy of needs, this triangle on the left, it begins with instrumentation, making measurements, integrating the data, noticing key transactions. The volume of each layer as we move up this triangle roughly corresponds with the data volumes present. So as we move up the analytics pipeline, we are significantly reducing the volume of data we expect to handle. This is an important point. Achieving an analytics-driven enterprise requires vast amounts of data. And that data pipeline needs to be curated at each stage to focus on what is meaningful and to make the overall scale tractable. Google does that by lifting metrics from one level to another, reducing the time series data to a rate, how the metric changes with time. This avoids having to figure out what thresholds to set in favor of noticing anything that has an unexpected rate of change, whenever and wherever that shows up. Using application expertise to validate KPIs for the application, this is the first step to reducing the metrics volume from hundreds or thousands per agent to the half a dozen that correctly characterizes the application. You can still drill down to those additional metrics when needed, but each level only promotes up a small percentage of the data available. This makes it more reliable to notice the unexpected. And this is what your SREs will dive into. Anything else, and Kubernetes already takes care of it. When it comes to machine learning, you cannot simply hand it your enterprise data set and then expect it to figure it out, boiling the ocean. Instead, you need to reduce the data to baseline, trends, and incidents. And even as those insights will come from a variety of sources, this is the point where machine learning can be applied and has a chance to both mimic what you are already doing and potentially predict relationships you had not previously considered. To trust the system at that point, you really need to have a consistent validation at each stage of the pipeline. The core practice at ADP is to automate everything possible. We like consistency of process. We also need to follow the sun. So folks need to pick up activities as working shifts close. And we want folks to have a life. Having consistent process is how we get that done. Our DevOps journey is still evolving, so we are automating from both ends of the application lifecycle. To further tear down silos of expertise, we need to share the same vocabulary for describing goals and problems, along with the process automation. With middleware SRE at the core, which is the organization I work in, and where third-party tools like APM are managed, we need to push the language of performance management out to everyone who touches the application lifecycle. Automated response to alerts is the first milestone away from reactive management. A release calendar and impact analysis comprise the second milestone coming up. The analytics pipeline is also fundamental to our early success with chatbots, and we expect to reuse that infrastructure when the migration to a data lake kicks in. often supported by DXAPM when it is going to be generally available. We are part of the early access program for the on-premise version of DXAPM, currently running both an engineering cluster and an application cluster. And we are planning and budgeting to build out new APM clusters in our next fiscal year, which is just around the corner in July. Here is an example of an application that evolves and improves via analytics and machine learning, the Chatbot. We started this as part of our digital transformation initiative, targeting cost savings via automation, and released as an exploratory pilot. And now it is moving forward to another 7 applications. This single application generates a large volume of data, which is used to both monitor from a classical performance point of view, as well as continually refine the capability that the Chatbot presents. Give us a platform to look at new features and to rapidly prototype new functionality. The bulk of this initiative is built with open source technologies. This bit of analytics infrastructure is what we will be using to pull from our own upcoming data lake, using Jupyter notebooks and to generate baselines for feature extraction and correlation. As much as we look to the analytics and machine learning to help us manage app performance from the IT perspective, that same set of information is going to be consumed by the business to refine the application and uncover opportunities to grow our service capabilities. Not based on gut instincts, but based on hard measurements, trends, and opportunities. So this is the path to analytics at ADP. Build a culture of selecting, validating, and promoting KPIs. Establish a vocabulary for collaboration on application performance across the lifecycle and with all stakeholders. If we want to lead the marketplace, we need to be able to build practitioners from scratch and not be limited by what may be available in the career marketplace. We need that same pipeline to provide meaningful roles in career paths, managing our own human capital. Where appropriate, we're going to automate every aspect of our support infrastructure, application, and technology lifecycles. Use this new technology to scout out opportunities like chatbots and get practical experience with analytic techniques, and then bring them back to our monolithic and containerized workloads. With DevOps, we need to get more insights into deployments and feature development among our dozens of app teams to further identify what tools and practices are the most effective and to best manage our strategic investments. Thank you for your attention and good luck on your own transformational initiatives.
Thanks so much, Mike. That was a really rich story. Really appreciated you sharing it with all of us. First question I wanted to ask you was, as you guys went down this journey, what were some of your first quick wins?
Well, certainly one advantage we have is that, as a chief architect, I get to lead and develop the material that goes forward. And this is something I've been doing for quite a few years. So really the big win in terms of bringing IT and the business together was to use that corporate training resource and basically make it part of people's development plans, so that your chance to win bonus is based on your performance against your personal goals, and being able to add training to different folks and make sure that they got that stuff done, that really helped jumpstart the activities. So leveraging that corporate training resource, that's really a key differentiator among all the different ways that I've looked at trying to get teams to organize and learn how to change their behaviors and learn new skills. So corporate training resource is a big win. And of course, to move back, what we call shifting left, identifying KPIs, building baselines, getting folks to understand and believe that it really only takes a couple metrics to define a signature for an application, whether it's a single instance or 1,000 instances. These behaviors are going to be very pronounced on only just a few metrics. So those are things that really help us, get the point across that you don't need to have thousands and thousands of metrics at your fingertips, but you really just need to understand how my application performs and what makes it unique from all other applications that we have in our portfolio.
Yeah, Mike, that really helps, and I get it. So, as you think about how you get from the, thousands and thousands of data points to the few KPIs that matter, how do you get business and IT to agree and align on a set of KPIs?
Well, it really comes through example. The first place that we use to identify KPIs usually comes, after the cow has have left the barn, meaning that we've gotten into a critical situation, we're triaging an application, and no one quite has a handle on what goes on. So part of that process is really for us to go back and quickly generate a baseline and then look at a couple operational points in the last couple days or couple weeks, depending on what's available, and then show them that, listen, it's only these KPIs that we should be looking at because these are the ones that would have predicted the situation that we just got into. This doesn't often result in something that says, here's the line of code you need to fix. But what we want to do is we first want to make sure that our alerting is based on metrics that are going to be effective. I mean, the worst thing for an IT organization is having an application that either doesn't alert when there's a problem or alerts all the time when there's no problem. So getting rid of those types of behaviors really happens when you have these KPIs that really capture the signature for the application.
Got it. Hey, so as you're thinking about the way to, fish through all of that data and find the trends, how is AI helping the team so far?
Well, for AI, this is really limited towards what we're doing with our chatbots, our sentiment analysis. Much more of the user experience is where we're using to kind of generate those activities. And the challenge that we're looking at next is to merge those sources of information with what we're seeing with the APM tools so that we can basically build dashboards that say, here's the KPIs that we've identified in the application. And here's the sentiment for what the consumers think of this application in terms of its performance. And then trying to rationalize, is the monitoring correct? Is the visibility that we have correct? And are we setting the right kinds of thresholds to let us know when there's a problem? The nightmare for many IT organizations is when your help desk is a better predictor of application performance than what you have configured with your monitoring tools. So we want to still take advantage of that idea and be able to show and say, listen, if we know the consumers are having a problem, the people that are using these services, and we're not seeing it on our tools, what are the metrics that we should be looking at that help us correlate that? And conversely, when we have an application that's suspected of having a problem, but no users are being affected, that also helps us prioritize what things we should be looking at and, help us put, our folks in the right direction rather than getting buried to, trying to tune up some activity that really isn't going to impact anything in terms of what the user experience is.
Yeah, really appreciate it. And, you guys have been on a wonderful journey here and you've learned a lot and been very generous in what you've shared. Any final thoughts or advice for those that are just getting started?
Well, you've got to have something that, kind of captures the imagination and rallies the troops. And really, for our application teams, this has been focusing on the user experience, sentiment analysis, surveys, these types of activities that are generated, because the infrastructure that they produce in those small pilot applications is absolutely reusable for the bigger applications that we're going to bring on board. Our model going forward is to have this data lake where all the resources are available in terms of the different types of measurements we're doing, and to allow people to build the new applications that do the analysis over that. And certainly we look to partner with Broadcom to help us establish that data lake and help us with all the integrations that we need in order to bring the different variety of monitoring tools that we have, as well as these more modern tools that are analytic based, but offer a REST API and obviously give us a very convenient way to integrate that metric stream. So it's really about identifying an application that's going to be, relatively short term to put together and starts to give you metrics in terms of things that are both analytic and very business focused, like sentiment, and aligning that with what you're seeing for the classical performance that we see from our IT infrastructure. And that's really what's going to capture folks' imagination as to what's possible. And then you just repeat, repeat, repeat again, as you move through your application portfolio to identify other candidates. But it really has to start with a small team on the cutting edge of technology and get something done that shows a cost reduction, because that's always good, but helps us build out this infrastructure that we need to do this analytics refinement, and bring this stuff forward so that we're, able to achieve this vision of using AI to help our operations of IT and business infrastructure.
Thanks again so much, Mike. I've learned so much listening to you from the inspiring story, and I'm sure that many out there have as well. And for all of you out there, thanks so much for your time and your attention. Be sure to tweet and follow discussions online at #BizOps. And of course, you can learn more at bizops.com. Looking forward to seeing you down the road, Mike. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Kurt. Have a great day.